What's up guys, Hanish here, and today I just wanted to drop a quick update. I guess it's kind of a part 2 to the update that we had yesterday from Bungie. Now of course that one yesterday had a lot of important information about the future of the game, but we also have information about the events coming in January, so Faction Rally next week, as well as a hotfix, some stuff from the This Week at Bungie post, which I didn't actually cover in the other video. We also have a couple of bits of clarification about some of the subjects of yesterday's update, which I'll talk about, and I wanted to take the opportunity to give you some of my opinions about what we saw in that update. I wanted to kind of take a little bit of time to reflect and get my head around all of it, see what the community thinks and all of that stuff, and I will talk about it briefly in this video. Before we go any further though, the gameplay you're seeing in the background comes from the new Asus Eververse GTX 1070 Ti. So they kindly sent me one of these out to show you guys. It's a pretty awesome GPU. I did cover the new Eververse lineup in more depth in yesterday's video, so you can check that out or follow the links in the description if you're interested in hearing more about the Eververse lineup. Once again, thanks to Asus for sending these out to me. Let's get into the news though. Of course, if you missed yesterday's big update, I will link that video in the description below. There's a lot of important, information about the future of the game in there. But what I missed out on a little bit is that next week there will be a hotfix, and this will be coming on Tuesday, January 16th. It also means there will be some server maintenance, so this begins at 8 AM PST and ends at 12 PM Pacific. So that will be from around about 4 to 8 PM in the UK, and then the servers will come back online. We will have the weekly reset and the faction rally will begin. So once again, that's Tuesday, January 16th. It's taken us a really long time to finally get one of these events. We haven't had one since Curse of Osiris, which certainly hasn't helped with content, but next week we'll finally begin to get access to those new FWC, New Monarchy and Dead Orbit ornaments you can see on screen, which are all pretty neat. On top of this, the weapons that they teased well over a month ago for the first faction rally will be available, so it will be all of the auto rifles for the factions. From FWC we have the Doubt. This is an adaptive frame auto rifle. In the middle column it's got tactical mag, high caliber rounds, and then finally we have snapshot sights. So that could actually be a pretty nice little auto rifle right there. We have the Loquitur 4 from New Monarchy. This is a high impact frame auto rifle, so these are pretty unusual, 360 rounds per minute, just like the Half Dan D if you've ever used that, but it has ricochet rounds, a pendant mag, alloy magazine, and high impact reserves. And finally from Dead Orbit we will get the Hollow Earth auto rifle. Comes with a rapid fire frame, you've got ricochet rounds, steady rounds, and Zen Moment. This is one of the kind of viced archetypes of auto rifle. I think those perks are going to be pretty interesting. Definitely the Dead Orbit as well as the FWC assault rifles look pretty good to me, although I gotta say, on the armor front, that New Monarchy stuff looks pretty tasty if you ask me. Either way, we will finally get that event next week. It's certainly going to be exciting to get our hands on some new stuff. For all of us who are, still playing right now, it's certainly very welcomed. Also, on January the 30th, that's when we will get the first Iron Banner. That's also when we get the January update. Once again, I broke down those details in yesterday's video. Now I wanted to clarify just a couple of things. So somebody asked, will the raid armor have raid specific mods, or will it just be the weapons? And this is to do with the kind of raid update that they're doing later this month. Chris Barrett did confirm it will only be the armor. One thing we don't really know right now is whether these mods will be on specific pieces of armor, whether they're going to be fixed. We don't know whether the mods will be able to drop individually and be applied to raid pieces. We'll have to wait and see. I'm definitely glad that they're doing this though. I'd also like to confirm that the Eververse changes they spoke about in yesterday's update, they will arrive on February the 13th alongside the Crimson Days event. So there was a little bit of confusion about this because, they confirmed Crimson Days will come on February 13th. They spoke about changes specific to Crimson Days, but they didn't clarify very well that all of the Eververse changes will actually arrive on that date. And that includes things like, dropping ghost sparrows and ships from those bright engrams in actual activities. So that's really good. They want to give us ways to earn bright engrams, through milestones and stuff like that. And then inside of Crimson Days, completing Nightfall, raids, and Crimson Days milestones will drop some of the specific loot for the event. We'll also be able to earn Crimson Days engrams through XP, as well as multiple, different activities, milestones, and all that kind of stuff. Now, in terms of the changes to Eververse, I think that they're a step in the right direction. Of course, Eververse hasn't been removed. That's something a lot of people were asking for. I think initially this is a good start. We'll have to kind of see how it plays and how it feels in the game though, This is one of those elements that we can kind of look at it on paper, but until you're there getting those rewards dropped or not getting those rewards dropped, right? It's hard to say exactly how it will feel. I think they look positive on paper. You know, moving forward, we need to keep this conversation alive and see more improvements. In terms of other stuff in the update, Masterwork Armor and the Raid kind of reward rework that's coming, both of those things are really positive. Like Masterwork Weapons, I think that Masterwork Armor will have to, you know, do more than what it looks like it's going to do right here in this kind of, you know, first snapshot that we've got about this stuff. But having it implemented, you know, is a beginning. The fact that we're going to see some kind of rework of the mod system for armor and weapons in February is also very exciting. I hope Bungie really go in, you know, on the powerful end, make some of this stuff feel good. We don't have any information about, you know, sandbox changes really happening in the game. That's something I'll mention in a moment, but in the interim, you know, if you're going to do this mod rework, you know, really make it impactful. And that does lead me on to the next thing I wanted to talk about. In spring 2018, we're going to be getting a Crucible ranking system, which looks pretty interesting. It's not very clear what the reward system will look like for that, or whether there's going to be specific playlists for that, or it will just be, you know, a generic, when you're in the Crucible, you're kind of, you know, part of this ranking system. Obviously, we're going to get more details later on. We're also getting private matches as well as 6v6. Now 6v6 is going to be very interesting. I'm not sure how that is going to work out, or whether, you know, which maps it's going to be for, whether they'll bring in new maps somehow in order to incorporate that. But I think 6v6, you know, is a good addition to the game. Now, in terms of all of these Crucible updates that they're talking about, this is where I wanted to mention the sandbox. What they're doing by adding Crucible private matches, you know, ranked play into the game is really, really good. But I feel for a lot of PvP-centric players, without seeing some significant sandbox tuning rejigging, it doesn't quite feel, you know, that impactful. Now, I think progression systems for PvP should have been in the game from the get-go, 100%. And it should be, you know, at this point in time that we're really looking at getting those sandbox tweaks. Of course, you know, some people would argue 4v4 should have never been a thing. I kind of agree. I would have liked 6v6 to just carry on, because what we're doing here is, you know, Bungie have put a lot of effort into one thing, community doesn't like it, and then we're backtracking to stuff we had in D1. And that is, you know, a lot of wasted energy, and it definitely takes time off of Bungie that they could be focusing on, you know, more important, innovative things in the future. I agree, guys. For those of you who say this stuff should have been in the base game, you know, a lot of it I absolutely agree, but the conversation now has to be about getting that stuff in. And in terms of these PvP changes, I really think they would have been complemented so well by, you know, some sandbox adjustments at the same time. People have a lot of issues with, you know, whether it's the time to kill, you know, the charge times for abilities, all of that kind of stuff, the general pace of the game. I feel like that PvP segment is very important, and it's something I would like to have seen changed much quicker and much more dramatically. One thing that is missing here is Bungie said they're targeting a New Year update for prestige rewards. This is something they said a while back, and while we do have changes to the raid right there, we don't have any kind of sweeping changes to prestige activities specifically, you know? I think on top of, you know, the additions of things like strike scoring, which is certainly good, the changes to mods, Masterwork Armor, they could have meant a little bit more for the PvE side of the game, although, like I said, they are all positive. My number one takeaway here is that Bungie are focusing on so many different elements that each of the changes they're implementing feel pretty minor. And I absolutely do think they should be focusing on multiple elements of the game. They have a lot of stuff to fix, but the problem with that is how big of a difference can you make to those individual elements when you're working on so much stuff? And that is the challenge for Bungie. That is the thing that makes this difficult to really bring back a lot of players at this point. For people who are still here, for people who are, you know, willing to wait a little bit, these are really good things. But for the people who left, you know, they're not going to appear as huge, massive changes. It doesn't look like enough for a lot of people, I think. And that's not me just bashing what Bungie are doing by any means, but I think what we're seeing here are, you know, foundations and groundwork that will come into the game over the next few months. And in order for Bungie to have a chance to really pull people back, what they're going to have to do is go through that marketing cycle, right? You know, the Taken King style thing. Hey, we fixed the game. We made it this much better. Here's all of the amazing stuff, you know, come September. I think that's where there's a bit of an opportunity for Bungie to kind of redeem themselves, but they're going to have to make it look huge. That's the challenge for them. I think in the meantime, for people still playing the game, these are good changes and additions, but there are a lot of things which aren't being spoken about. There are a lot of things which I think a lot of people won't feel are changing quick enough. So those are my general opinions about the update overall, guys. I think there are very good elements. Pretty much every single element is still going to need work, but more important than my opinion is your opinion, guys. You know, having had a little bit of time to think about what they've said, do you think that this is going to bring you back to the game? Do you think this is going to sustain you until we get more substantial content? I'd definitely be curious to hear about that. To finish though, just a couple of very tiny things. There will be some new Destiny 2 Funko Pops. So Jeff Unpronounceable posted this image to Reddit. We can see Dominus Gall, Hawthorne with Lewis, Amanda Holiday and Osiris there as Funko Pops, so if you're into those, you like collecting them, it looks like some new ones are going to be coming out pretty soon. Also, there was a really interesting video about the kind of behind the scenes motion capture for Destiny 2. So as you can see, it shows them actually capturing, you know, numerous different cutscenes and kind of events in the game. It's really interesting to see that kind of acting process, you know, using motion capture. Obviously, they're kind of capturing the movement of those people in order to animate characters in the game, which is really interesting. So if you want to check that out, I'll also link that video in the description below. But there we go, guys, a few things I wanted to round up, a few opinions I wanted to share with you guys. If you have enjoyed the video, a like is very much appreciated. I'm sorry that it's been a little bit of a long one, but do let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you're new around here, feel free to hit that subscribe button to see more Destiny 2 content. For now though, I'll catch you guys very soon.